All right, cheers and salutations. Welcome one and all to Americans Learn. My name is Kit, and now you see me, now you don't. Camouflage and a history of military deception. Sabaton history number 129. Now we haven't really talked about, hiding, camouflage and all that other good stuff. But listen here, folks. Listen here, folks. It's been a while since we've seen our good friends at Sabaton, so let's get our learn on. This is the first Sabaton video I think we've been checking out for 2025. So grab yourself a tasty snack and a tasty beverage, and let's get ready to enjoy this video and find out about camouflage. I think we've all remember our times as when we were young children, when we would put on like some kind of army camouflage or fatigues and pretend to be fighting in the jungles, in the parks or whatever. So let's go ahead and relive the history of camouflage and all of its perks in a 3, a 2, and an uno.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Pat from Sabaton.
And this is Sabaton History live on the Sabaton Cruise. Am I correct? Can you guys say hell yeah? And yeah, I know.
And now we're going to talk about our favorite color.
Wait, Sabaton's favorite color? What is Sabaton's favorite color?
Camouflage.
Yeah.
All warfare is based on deception. This is the wisdom bestowed upon us by Sun Tzu. He teaches us to appear weak when we are strong and to seem distant when we are near. For soldiers, the best...
Again, read The Art of War, but I also recommend The Prince. The Prince and the Discourses.
best way to achieve such illusions is through the modern art and the modern techniques of camouflage.
With a pair of friendly eyes appeared there at my shoulder and said, wait. Charlie was a tangle, now we'll have two to go. I said, well, thanks a lot. I told him my name and asked him this. And good night, the voice just called me camouflage.
Nature. Well, it's all about predators and prey.
Yes, a chameleon or an octopus, able to blend into their environment, of course. Those are some, and of course, hey, listen, sometimes you gotta hide like zebras do in mass. Or when a lion is prowling through the fields, you never see it until it finally gets you.
About hunters and hunted, right? Survival may depend on who can conceal themselves from the watchful eyes of others, those that can blend in with their environments, disguise themselves as something else, or even hide in plain sight, are those that conquer the awareness of their enemies, of those who will do them harm. Our hunter and gatherer ancestors surely, I imagine, internalized such natural wisdom, but most of it seems to have vanished as warfare progressed through the ages. Like in Europe during antiquity and the Middle Ages and even beyond, hoplites, legionnaires, and knights wore brightly colored cloaks and tunics. Helmets were decorated with large plumes, and shields were painted with color-coded heraldry.
Yes, because of obviously the glory. But there's been examples of, I guess the less technologically advanced nations or city-states or tribes or hordes in which they used ambush tactics against the more colorful, more brazen empires of old.
I mean, look at the winged hussars, right? Yeah. You can't mention the winged hussars without a little audience. This is a trick for you in the future. If you ever need audience response, bring in the winged hussars when they arrive. When they arrive. Everything was designed to be easily identified from afar, to be actively observed and recognized for what it is. Naturally, there were acts of deception, there were ambushes and things like that, but to disguise oneself on the battlefield, that was unheard of. And the same went for the Napoleonic era, where units marched in tight line formations and they fired volleys at each other from uncomfortably close range.
See, now I could... look, I don't know if it's glory, courage, heroism. I don't know. That would not be in me, man. You know, hey, it's willing to march in a straight line. Your friends next to you, cannon fire, musket fire. I couldn't do it. No, not in me. Not in my blood.
Accompanied by drummers and buglers, the men wore bright red coats and had large regimental flags. A major reason why this dress code began to change at the end of the 19th century was the technological leap forward. For one thing, firearms became more accurate even over longer distances, and artillery more mobile and more devastating. So it was necessary
We go mobile.
to conceal soldiers in order to reduce casualties. A big wake-up call was the Franco-Prussian War. Until then, most European nations modeled their armies after the Grande Armée, as France was the standard of military might. With its light blue coats and bright red pantaloons, their uniform was to mirror their doctrines of élan and esprit de corps. However, the Prussian victory caused some to rethink that image. The Prussians wore a dark blue-gray color combination, which proved to be much harder to observe over longer distances. Those some who rethought their image did not include the French, though, who began World War I 40 years later, still in their brightly colored uniforms, and a month later changed them because of devastating casualties,
Exactly. When you're so bright and shiny, you become a perfect target.
which they were taking because they were wearing brightly colored uniforms and everybody else had machine guns. Also, in the late 1800s, the British were engaged in several asymmetric wars in their colonies. And here, the enemy's main hit-and-run tactic was to hide and conceal himself. So the old, obvious red coats did not work at all. The olive-brown khaki, the color of dust, was the uniform of the future because of its natural camouflaging effect. Overall, camouflage is many things and wears many names, right? Transposition, relocation, substitution, displacement. But in the end, it comes down to one thing: persuading the viewer that there is nothing there when there is actually something there. It is a form of visual
That was pretty cool. That was an artillery round disguised as a tree.
warfare, not fought by the gun, but by the paintbrush and the clever use of foliage and netting. In order to make a soldier or an object hide in plain sight, he or it must meld into the background and become one with the surroundings. The Great War was pretty much the first conflict that made such camouflage techniques a universal practice. In and out of the trenches, every soldier was taught to conceal himself, his position, and the guns and the vehicles around him. Soldiers covered their steel helmets with soot, paint, or sacking to reduce shine. The French ditched the red trousers. The Germans added concealing flaps over their tunic buttons, and the Scots even applied khaki camo covers to their kilts.
There you go. Manly men, they wear kilts. Fight me. Don't ever disrespect the kilt. Ever. Not in my presence. Never.
In short, muddy battlefields needed muddy uniforms.
Was near the river bank when the ambush came, and I thought this was the end that we were had. Then a bullet with my name on came and bumped into a bush, and the big marine, he swatted with his hand. Just like it was a fly.
It did not take long for camouflage to become a real science. Naturalists have always looked to the animal world and how animals conceal themselves from visual detection and surveillance. Nature paints animals the darkest where the sun shines the most, and the lightest where it does the least. The three-dimensional shape of animals is further flattened by graduating tones, from dark fur on top towards, like the white fur on the belly. This basic principle of countershading was consequently applied to uniforms and the surfaces of guns and vehicles. The second principle of visual camouflage involves concealment and disrupting coloration. Irregular brushstrokes making
Hey, there we go. Marines. USMC. MARINES. That's the way you spell success.
asymmetric paint schemes on the surfaces of objects can eliminate their shapes and their outlines. Stormtroopers, for example, would sometimes paint their helmets in different earth shades in order to remain unnoticed for as long as possible. The British would try to disguise the rather obvious rhomboid shape of the Mark I tank.
I mean, if that thing sneaks up on you, you deserve to be shot by it, and you deserve to be ran over by it. But okay. I mean, obviously, like, when it's not moving, people wouldn't notice it. But let's say it's moving, and you wonder, like, what's that? What's that? Oh, gee, Bobby, that's called a tank.
Tank with elaborate color schemes of ochre, red, brown, green, and black. When it came to camouflaging aircraft, artists were at first uncertain of what to do, though ironically it was the introduction of planes and the use of balloons that made camouflage techniques on the ground a necessity to avoid being spotted and observed.
And eventually being bombed, too. But that's after WW1. A little bit after. No, there were some bombings in WW1.
During the Great War, there were two schools of thought about planes. The first wanted to disguise their fabric surfaces with camouflage patterns and colors, Brunswick green, Venetian brown, or pale blue.
Which, you could see that. Maybe if it's more blue or gray, you can hide it a little bit better.
Second wanted to stand out and go back to the era of individual knights and go nuts with personalized paint jobs. An anything goes approach with bright reds, yellows, and blues, and colorful emblems, tactical symbols, and squadron markings like the Red Baron and his flying circus.
Which was stupid. You're putting yourself a big shiny target on you, man.
Now, what is really difficult to camouflage is a ship. Concealing it from view is not possible because on the high seas, there's nothing to hide behind except maybe fog, but that's pretty much it. The only option is visual deception by using the effects of counter shading. The British called it the Dazzle camouflage and made the Dazzle ships. Camouflage that was to break up the shape and outline of a warship by using contrasting shades of light and dark. A white area with high gloss was contrasted by darker and paler shades of gray and black. And the irregularity of the paint job made it very difficult for an observer to assess the correct size, type, speed, and sometimes even direction of travel of the ship. And since naval warfare relies heavily on accurate calculations, even a slightly wrong assessment can lead to tons of ordnance harmlessly falling into the ocean. The art of camouflage was not without its critics, though. Many military men called it mumbo-jumbo and disregarded it as a science.
Well, those guys probably got popped later on, or is it that had their entire units and battalions destroyed because, they didn't believe in camouflage.
Such a reaction was quite understandable, since camouflage goes actively against the military's natural obsession with order and control. Troops are drilled to keep everything clean and neat and polished, and most importantly, to have everything standardized. Camouflage, with its reliance on irregularity, improvisation, and diffusion, was anathema to that thinking. The traditional military mindset was all about dominating the battlefield by sheer physical force, right? Not by games of hide and seek. But now came in all these artists and filmmakers and set designers and cartoonists and sculptors and stage performers making camouflage and turning all of this on its head. there's also a psychological aspect. Camouflage is both a magic that protects soldiers from harm, yet at the same time plays a trick on their eyes by deceiving them.
Yep. I remember when we got issued, when I joined in the Marine Corps way back, 04 to 08. Oh my God, jeez. I was a young boy, but that's when they made the transition from I guess the old school camouflage to the digital printout that we all have seen before. So from the desert khakis to my green khakis, I miss them. Actually, you know what? I still have them. I still have them to this day, but different times.
Artist Julian Trevelyan, for example, writes, I would arrive on the barrack square with pots of paint and brushes and set to work dabbing the shield of some anti-tank gun with spots of different greens and browns, touching in the underside of the barrel itself with pure white on the principle of gazelles. Against the dreary barrack walls, it looked an unholy mess. But when it was wheeled out into the country and placed against a hedge, there were cries of astonishment at my magic. The Second World War saw the standardization of camouflage patterns on uniforms, tanks, and airplanes. No one returned to colors of bright red, white, or blue outfits anymore. And
Yes, no one with a functioning brain cell. Everybody else is realizing, okay, heavy machine guns, dive bombers, fighter planes, tanks. You know, it's if you're looking all shiny and bright, you're gonna go boom in the night. Hey, that rhymed.
And instead, pretty much everyone focused on some sort of brown, olive, or khaki drab. Of course, there were variations like white garments for winter or sandy beige one for deserts. The Axis focused even more on different kinds of camo patterns and the science behind camouflage, like the early Italian telo mimetico or the German splitter tarn. Now, I made a video about them on my World War II channel, actually, which you can all go and check out. By the war's
And also subscribe to as well.
end, you had pretty much what you'd call modern camo uniforms, with sets of leaves, dots, and stripes painted in different kinds of color schemes and patterns depending on the theater of war. Yet, the art of camouflage didn't stop with 1945, but got even more refined from the conflicts of the Cold War until today, like the tiger stripes of the Vietnam War, the chocolate chip cookie desert camo of the Gulf War, or the German Flecktarn, which influenced many modern designs.
Camouflage. Things are never quite the way they seem. Camouflage. I was awfully glad to see this big Marine.
MARINES, that's the way you spell success.
Now, what brought us here to the topic of camouflage was Sabaton's cover of the Western ballad of the same name by Stan Ridgway, a bonus track on The Last Stand. The song is about a young private first class of the U.S. Marine Corps during the Vietnam War in 1965. While on combat patrol against the Viet Cong, the soldier suddenly finds himself alone with his weapon jammed. As he hears the enemy move in on him, he awaits his date with destiny. Then, suddenly, a big Marine with a pair of friendly eyes appears out of nowhere. Our guy asks for his name, and he says, "Just call me Camouflage." Fighting side by side all night, the PFC wonders how the bullets seem to miss Camouflage every time. And he even seems to swat them away with his hand. The next morning, they both take their chances and they run for it. And our hero makes it back to camp, only to find out that Camouflage was dead, his body was in the medical tent, and it had been there since last night. Can you do that even louder just for effect?
That's incredible. Beautiful.
I know. And here's the thing about Camouflage. His last wish before dying was to save a young Marine caught in a barrage. Now this song is as much a song about war and a song about as it is a song about ghosts, but it is also a song about the game of hide and seek, of suddenly appearing and disappearing without being sure that something or someone was ever actually there in the first place. The art and techniques of camouflage are omnipresent in today's military. In fact, they've gone a step further by trying to conceal the soldiers' thermal signatures, digital camo patterns, and pixelated multi-terrain
Now that's my era.
patterns are pretty much becoming standard by now. Vehicles and planes try to become blank by not only masking their thermal emissions, but also their sound using acoustic masking materials. The shapes of tanks and bombers, they're stretched and smoothed to make them undetectable by radar. More and more, the idea of camouflage being a sort of magical cloak of invisibility is becoming a reality. And one legacy of camouflage is clear to see in everyday life. It has become fashion, and you see it all the time. In fact, I know these 5 guys who wear it like all the time in public. It's totally their thing.
Who is he talking about? Oh, probably the band called Sabaton.
Camouflage.
Before he went, he said Semper Fi and said it's only wish was to say a young Marine caught in a mirage. So here, take your drop back on. I know you want you to have it now. Whoa, camouflage. Things are never quite the way they seem. Whoa, camouflage. I was awfully glad to see this big Marine.
Okay, camouflage is your favorite color.
Of course.
And we've just heard a lot about camouflage. And as several people have pointed out, we have a lot more to tell about camouflage. So we need a second episode about this.
I could imagine there has been
And I'm going to promise you guys this here at Americans Learn, we're going to have a full dedicated video to camouflage. That's the right thing to do. So be sure to subscribe and hit that ring bell notification. That way all of you hip cool cats are made aware when we upload new content upon our YouTube channel.
a couple of them around.
Well, can you tell me about Sabaton, or tell them about Sabaton's relationship to camouflage, just in general?
I mean, so this starts with when Sabaton actually got our, let's say, current stage outfits, which was for the music video recording of Atero Dominatus in 2006. And
Like current stage outfits.
yeah, current. we are not so fast in adapting or changing things. We're kind of slow moving in that. And the good thing is that we aren't really out of fashion. We were out of fashion a long time ago, and we haven't changed that. But the fact is, why they look like they do, and the colors. We tried around a little bit with various, like, okay, are we like wearing the M90 of the Swedish Army or something like that? You know why we're not?
No, I do not know why.
Okay, so if you
All right, let's go ahead and get our learn on here. Find out why.
to wear M90, the Swedish camouflage, for anybody who doesn't know that, if you do try to wear that on a stage with all various color configurations, it's going to look absolutely horrible depending on which lights you are shining on it.
Because red, yellow, green, blue.
And,
Okay, very good.
and it's going to take out some colors and it's not going to look good.
Okay.
So we had to choose a non-color camouflage,
So you had to choose camouflage that was not camouflage.
kind of.
Okay.
And so we ended up with black and white because it was the only one that resonates pretty well with all colors.
so it's been 15, 16 years that you've been camouflage. But why did you guys choose camouflage in the first place? Was it just because you thought it was cool, or?
We just needed to change from the leather and chains outfits that we had the first years. And we thought, okay, we need something that fits more to the newly discovered historical topic that we were doing. And then we say, okay, what do military people wear? Well, obviously, camouflage. And that's how we got into that.
Now, when I was in high school, I finished.
Were you wearing camouflage in high school?
Camouflage pants, definitely. And I finished.
And I think as a kid, I'm going to speak for myself. We all had at least some kind of a camouflage T-shirt back in the day. Just Just it's like a little shield armor, you know.
High school in 1985, and it was really in like 82, 83. And I'd never seen it before in my life. It was around then that camouflage pants became like a thing. And this was in Texas. I assume it was the rest of the country, but what do I know? But this was, or the rest of the world, sorry. But it was, no, but I had a pair of camouflage pants in like 83, 84. And I got them too long so that I could twist them around and stuff them into the top of my Converse high tops. Because that's, I know, you guys are stunned into silence by how cool, I must have looked right then. But I like though that you've really stuck with it over the years. And the reason we're talking about camouflage is not just you guys doing camouflage; it's the song Camouflage as well.
Of course.
And how did
A very odd one.
a very odd choice, I think, for Sabaton to do. Not a bad choice at all, because it's a great song. But I mean, do you guys know the original? You guys ever listen to Stan Ridgway's Camouflage? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem.
I wasn't aware of this song, and now I will give it my full dedication for its own individual video. That's why you got to subscribe to Americans Learn so you can get your learn on.
Seem like you'd listen to it and go, "Oh man, Sabaton should do this," right? It doesn't. You know what I mean?
So I'm guilty.
Okay.
So I was the one
Innocent.
who suggested that we're gonna do it, and I would say that we were in a little bit stressed when we were recording, and we wanted to do more songs than we actually had. So okay, we need to add a couple of extra tracks to the recording, and let's do. And I said, okay, we're gonna do this song Camouflage, and I think Joachim agreed to it without even listening to the song.
Okay.
So I sold him the idea that it's this will be great, and he's like, okay, well, if you say so, and
it will be so.
Then it was like arranged by Tobbe and Hannes, and they had no interest of adding the vocal melodies to their arrangement. Quite interesting take on this is that in the original there is not so many variations. It's like there's just one.
It's 5 minutes of the song.
Of the same
it's
thing.
First chorus.
So
That's it.
Hannes and Tobbe, they needed to write like various sections of it. So everything in that song is pretty much newly written. There's almost nothing original except for the lyrics. Okay, yeah. And so they wrote the guitar riffs, they wrote new arrangements for everything. And in the end, there's like, okay, Joachim, we did it. It's recorded. You can now go and sing. And he's like, how do I sing onto this? Where are the
Wall
melodies?
of sound is Phil Spector,
Yeah,
Wall of Metal.
And it's like, then it's Tobbe like, yeah, I did my part. Now you do your part as a singer. And it's like, but there is, how do I possibly sing? So if you listen to it, he had to improvise a little bit in the melody there, quite a lot. But I think he did a great job by not having a clue what he's gonna do with it.
But I'm gonna have to listen to it with a different ear now that I've heard that. Is there anything else we have to say about Camouflage?
Well, we also have the Camouflage magazine.
Oh yeah, of course.
For a
Yeah, kick ass. All right, I'm digging this. All the stuff about camouflage that I never knew about.
couple of years, we've been releasing our own magazine, Camouflage. And every issue has like a Easter egg, if you would like to call it that. If you figure out what kind of camouflage each issue is, you can follow that all of them are unique and they have all a different camouflage. Maybe someday, some people might be like seeing, oh, it's they talked about that, or that interview was cool. And it was in the Camouflage issue, which has the Japanese Special Forces from 1983, and something very extreme.
I mean, the most obvious one, obviously.
Okay, there you go. I never knew that. See, I'm learning something new right here. Well done about camouflage, and shout out to Camouflage the Marine.
So these kind of things that everybody knows about.
Okay. Now, for those of you out there who are watching this that don't know about Camouflage the magazine, how can they get Camouflage?
Well, anybody can get it by getting anything from our mail order. So, because we send it for free with every shipment from our mail order.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for Camouflage
Yes.
from Sabaton History.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Camouflage, things are never quite the way they seem. Whoa.
thanks for watching. That was awesome, right? So please subscribe to our channel and click that little bell so you get notifications the next time we release another episode of Sabaton History Channel.
Done deal. All right. Well, first of all, a promise is a promise, and I am going to dedicate a full video to the movie, or not movie, the music video or music Camouflage by Sabaton. If it's about Marines, you know I'm going to give it its respect that it's due. So, folks, get your Learn On for Americans Learn, but also, please, everyone, support the original content creators, Sabaton History. Link is in the description box below, and if you're not supporting the original content creator, what's wrong with you? Come on, it's 2025. Be positive.